It is Friday, April 8th. Let's talk PlayStation. Alright, let's get to it. PlayStation 4 firmware 3.50 is available right now. So some of the notable features, friend notifications, you can finally, see when people come online or not. You can appear offline, which is a fantastic feature. That should have been available since, PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. So that's great. Of course, they had the, the yellow symbol where it's like, oh, not, I'm online, but not really here, whatever. No, appearing offline is great. Also, you can create events for your friends and whatnot and set that up in communities and all that. That's all well and good. I think the big headlining feature here is that you can do remote play now with a computer, basically. So you can do it on PC or Mac, which is great. I tested it a little bit earlier. It's pretty decent, I'd say. Of course, it's version 1.0 on the computer, so Sony needs to add better support to it because basically it's a little bit capped off right now. I mean, the resolution is maxed out to 720p, and then you can lower it to 540 or 360. So it's pretty, not that great there. Frame rate you can bump it up to 60. Again, it's all based on your connection. So with my connection personally, I wasn't getting that great of a of an experience, but either way it's still good, and certainly Sony will update it later on, so that's good stuff. Also secretly, well, not secretly, but certainly a little bit more silently, PlayStation Vita also got a firmware update 3.60. And no major features, and not software stability, but improving the quality of system performance. So that's a new one, Sony. Always keeping us on our toes, making those PlayStations secretly better in some weird manner where we don't really see the benefits of it. All right, and this next news story is a little heartwarming. Certainly good to hear stuff like this. So basically, this college student named Peter Brine, I think is how you pronounce his name, has a condition, cerebral palsy. It's kind of hard for him to use the DualShock 4 in a manner that makes it more comfortable for him. I guess the way, with this condition, he keeps kind of brushing against the touchpad, and it pauses a lot of his games. Kind of annoying. Basically, a PlayStation employee, Alex Nawabi, I hope I'm saying his name right too, he actually stepped forward and made a custom controller for this kid. He actually made 2 custom controllers. Took him a long time to make it. He did this on his own time, not on behalf of PlayStation. So it's not even a specific PlayStation news story. Certainly, I'm sure Sony's pretty happy that this news story is kind of making a lot of headlines, but it's just a good news story. You know what I'm saying? Just one of those things where it's not even about let's talk PlayStation. It's about let's talk good people. It's nice that we see things like this, no matter the company they're working for or whatnot. It's always good to sort of pay it forward. All right, now we're going to be talking about a lot of Naughty Dog stuff. So first off, The Last of Us movie. Basically, Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann is giving us a little update, saying that there is no update. He's kind of saying that it's basically in development hell, kind of in limbo, which he said, this is what usually happens with these projects. Absolutely true. There's how many video game movies that are trying to get made, and there's just absolutely no progress moving forward. He said it was 18 months since he's actually heard any sort of update, but Sony will update him with a possible script or something. And so he said the last they heard is that they got a new screenwriter or something. So there's pretty much nothing to go on there. I mean, that just seems like the Hollywood industry as a whole, unless it's some big, really, headlining massive movie or something, it just takes forever to finally move forward. So that just seems like how it always goes usually in Hollywood. Moving on, Neil Druckmann was also talking to, I forget the publication, I'll link it below. He was discussing about what's going to happen after Uncharted 4, basically. After the Uncharted 4 single-player DLC, they said they're going to be opening up some of their previous projects, one of them being some prototypes they did for The Last of Us 2. And this is one of the few times where he kind of openly acknowledges that, yeah, the team is, absolutely tested a few of these things, and Last of Us 2 is certainly one of them. So after Uncharted 4 DLC is finally done, that's kind of the direction Naughty Dog will do, is possibly look at Last of Us 2. And previously whenever we talked about Last of Us 2 or something, it seemed like Naughty Dog was always pretty they would never really outright say it, but they were certainly tipped on the fact that they were oh yeah, Last of Us 2 here, there. It's pretty obvious they absolutely have looked at it and whatnot. It's just a matter of what's actually going to happen. We won't find out for a long time, of course, because Uncharted 4 still hasn't even shipped yet, and they're going to be doing DLC. So, but it's always nice to kind of speculate a little bit. Moving on, Uncharted 4's lead designer, Ricky Campier, talked about how, with the PlayStation 4 basically, and Uncharted 4 specifically, he feels like they're going to be able to get more horsepower out of it and make games look even prettier moving forward. He said with their next game, they can probably get some more juice out of it. He was was quoted as saying, "There are definitely areas that I can see that will be able to do better things already after this. You know, we have some really smart programmers at Naughty Dog, and I'm always pretty surprised of what they can do. I have a hard time saying that it will take the same evolutionary jump as, you know, the difference between the first Uncharted versus The Last of Us is enormous, but there is no doubt that the next thing we do, we're going to get even more power, get even more out of that PlayStation." Kind of, you know, this is like one of those things where it's like kind of obvious. I guess the conversation here is that with specifically X1 and PlayStation 4, there was always this kind of talk about diminishing returns. Certainly the machines are more powerful, but because games are getting so much more detailed, even when you increase polygon count and stuff, I mean, the actual difference is much more minimal than, say, previous jumps in hardware generations. So when you have this conversation of early PlayStation 4 games to late PlayStation 4 games, people are saying, oh, there's not going to be that big of a jump. There's absolutely going to be, like, say, a difference. But yeah, it's like he's kind of like on the ball, like kind of right on the dot here, where it's like there's not going to be massive differences, but certainly they can still get more juice out of it. Even more so with this theoretical idea of a possible stronger PlayStation 4 or stronger Xbox One that we are seeing more and more evidence of that's actually going to be true. And for our final Naughty Dog news story, Neil Druckmann was talking about the possibility of an Uncharted 5, kind of saying that if another studio were to do Uncharted 5, he would be absolutely okay with that. He would actually enjoy playing Uncharted from an outside perspective of not developing the game. But he's basically also saying that if Uncharted 5 were to happen with a new studio, they would still like to have some heavy involvement in the sense where they can help with the direction of the game, and they want the game to have the proper essence. And it absolutely makes sense, you know, especially a passionate studio like Naughty Dog. You know, a lot of these developers, I mean, sometimes people are always questioning why developers stop doing this or why they keep making these games or what have you, and people don't seem to understand that these are, like, developers at the end of the day are still people, and they're very passionate about their work. They're creators, you know what I'm saying? So they care a lot about some of the games that they make and the stories they try to tell, and you know, they work on these projects for how long. So absolutely, these people get really attached to these things. And that's even more so true for Naughty Dog. So I feel like, yeah, of course, if they were to do if Uncharted 5 were to be a real thing, they would want to stay pretty closely attached to the project to help it stay true to what Uncharted basically is. Even more telling about this news story is that, you know, of course, we keep hearing over and over again, Uncharted 4 is the last one, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, business-wise, it's, you know, Naughty Dog can calmly say it's our last Uncharted, but Sony is the you know, the rights holder to the Uncharted name. It's their IP. So if Sony wanted an Uncharted 5, they could absolutely just, you know, give the name to another developer and fund it that way and do another Uncharted that way if they wanted to, of course. One thing we always hear about is that Sony's very lenient with these things, so they wouldn't force Naughty Dog to do another Uncharted, which is why Naughty Dog has been saying we're not doing another Uncharted. So even though, you know, however Uncharted 4 ends, if 5 wanted to happen, Sony could make it happen. Naughty Dog would be okay with it, but they want to still have some involvement. But I'm starting to think that, you know, regardless of how Uncharted 4 ends, regardless of Sony's, like, business stance, I think, you know, Uncharted probably will have a decent break. If there's, like I say, a 5, I would have to imagine it wouldn't come out for a very long time. And for our final, very juicy news story, it's absolutely a rumor, kind of a leak. Take this with a grain of salt, but there's some, you know, compelling stuff here. God of War 4 screenshots and concept art have apparently leaked on the internet. This was leaked by NerdLeaks, I think, and the website's now down. Their Twitter's down or something. So who knows if this is, you know, fake as shit, or maybe Sony sent the cease and desist. Who knows? But we also have some backup from NeoGAF and the you know, industry insider Shinobi, who actually has had some pretty decent track records for a very long time. But again, rumor, so believe what you want. But, you know, I'm probably showing the screenshots and whatnot right now. So basically with God of War 4, what we're looking at right now is they are absolutely going with, like, Norse mythology. So that's actually pretty interesting. Of course, we would love to see something new for the franchise and everything. Kratos is sporting a beard. He's got an axe. They're saying, like, more interactable environments. Again, I'm just probably showing you more pictures right now. Pretty interesting stuff. I mean, again, there's not really a whole lot to go on because this is a rumor and it's absolutely, you know, it could be completely fake. But we all absolutely know that God of War 4 is coming. It's been pretty much outright confirmed that the game is in development. Even the recent rumor was that this possible PlayStation 4K, like God of War 4, is going to be a headlining title for the new box. God of War, of course, has always been a pretty gorgeous game no matter what platform it releases on. It's always been kind of this showcase game where it looks absolutely fantastic. Seb, yeah, I mean, there's really not much to discuss other than the fact that Norse mythology is certainly an interesting turn, but like that's something that a lot of people have always been kind of wondering with God of War, and where's it going to go? Because if you played all the God of War games, no spoilers, of course, but there's just they've covered a lot. You know what I'm saying, of the Greek mythology. They've covered a lot of the Greek characters, the stories inside of there, all the creatures and whatnot. It's not like they can't do more, but it's like it's time for something new. That's how these games go. That's how this industry works. Basically, when you start running out of ideas, you start running out of things. You want to try something new. So Norse mythology would be pretty dope, and I would love to see it. But as rumors always are, we will have to wait and see. Anyway, those are just some of the news stories I want to talk about with you all this week. Ryan on Gaming was basically a very simple one, just some of my favorite games. Somebody just straight up asked me, hey Ryan, what are some of your favorite games? So that's what I talk about. Some of my favorite games that I've played over the years. It's a very personal, very good episode of Ryan on Gaming. I implore you to check that out if you give at all about what I have to say about my favorite games. And also, God of War, or God of War Let's Play. Speaking of God of War, we're still doing that Let's Play. That's going great. It's a lot of fun. We're having some good times there. We're killing some Greek creatures. Maybe in the future we'll kill some Norse creatures, but right now we're doing Greek stuff. And that's about it. So thank you all for watching this episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Rob Bujnovksy, and I will see you all next Friday.